The first step in learning to tool leather is how to do basic stamping. In this program, we will teach you how to select and prepare your leather and how to stamp basic designs. For our first project, we will do a coaster. For this, we have selected some 1/8 inch thick vegetable tan leather. We will dampen it with water and a sponge, as you can see here, until we get it fairly damp all the way through but not soggy. And then we will wait till it begins to return to its natural color. After it starts to return to its natural color, we can begin our stamping. Notice here I'm stamping a border around this coaster with a veiner. I have placed each impression about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and we'll do this consistently all the way around the coaster. As we approach our beginning, we will kind of sort of plan with the tool to see how it'll work. Now, sometimes we have to stretch out the last few impressions, and sometimes we have to crowd a few impressions. We'll now use an alphabet stamp for the center, and notice that I have hit it several times and rotated the tool as I was hitting it. This way we will get a good impression. These are self-spacing, so I can place the other initial right next to it, as you can see here, and of course I hit the tool and rotate it. You can always put it back in and re-register it if need be. Now here I've taken a common number 431 camouflage tool. I'm just adding some more detail to my border. And here we have a real nice coaster that anyone would be proud of, and we can put finish on it at this time. If we want, we can continue to decorate this. In this case, I'm using a checkered parachader, and I'm doing it in all the background area, as you can see, and I'm creating texture which will make our initials stand out even better. Please note that each time I hit the tool, I rotate it slightly so that we do not get a pattern. We want everything to look on there in random. And here is our coaster after we have done the background matting. Let's do another coaster. This time we will use the number D439 border stamp. It's a combination of kind of like a camouflage and a veiner. Notice that I'm overlapping each impression just slightly, and we go all around the outside. Now when we get near the end, notice I'm using the tool to measure a little bit, and it looks like we'll need to either stretch or crowd the last few impressions. In this case, I'm stretching them out slightly so that the last impressions match up real good when we get to the last stamping. Now I'm going to use one of the three-dimensional stamps right in the center. We use that just about like we did the alphabet stamp, in that you hold it real tight and strike it several times and rotate it. Now I'm using a veiner, and notice that I'm tipping it to the right slightly and kind of making it look like a sunburst. Now let's do a belt. Notice I'm using the same V407 veiner that we used earlier, and I'm doing it now down the edge of this belt. In this case, I'm staying about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and notice that I have started at the tip. The reason I have stayed 1/4 of an inch from the edge is because I'm planning to punch and lace this belt, so we'll need to provide for that. Notice I'm also stamping on a heavy piece of granite. Granite or marble makes an excellent stamping surface and will give you nice, sharp, deep impressions. Now I'm using the F916, which is normally a tool that's used for grass and figure carving. In this case, it really enhances our belt. As you can see, we have a beautiful belt that's all ready for our finishing. So let's do another belt. In this case, I'm stamping with the C431 camouflage tool. And as before, I'm not using a border line, but I'm staying about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And I always start at the tip and go back toward the buckle end. After I have my border stamped, I will use a number M656. This is a special matting tool that looks really nice. It's kind of like a pear shader with additional lines on it. Please note that I'm using this like I did the pear shader early. Each time I pick it up, I turn it slightly so that I do not create a pattern. And as you can see, we have another beautiful pattern all ready for our finish. I'm going to take the number D439 tool again and do another belt. Here again, these belts are all 8 to 9 ounce or 1/8 inch thick leather. That's the proper thickness for a belt. It is the project that determines the thickness you use. So here again, we will stay about 1/8 of an inch from the edge and go all the way down. Here I'm using some alphabet stamps to put a name on here, and please note that I have been very careful to keep all 3 of them going in the proper direction and also located properly on the belt. Now we're going to do a billfold back. Now you'll notice that I have cemented the billfold back to a piece of cardboard with rubber cement. After we tool it, we can peel it off. Now I'm putting a border on with a wing divider. Now in this case, I'm going to use the 431 camouflage tool. Notice that as I stamp it, I go over the line ever so slightly so that when I make my stamp impression, you do not see the line. We'll do that while we stamp down all of the 4 edges. We'll go over the line slightly each time so that after we stamp it, you do not see the guideline. As we approach the corners, we will do like we did with the coaster and use the tool and do some measuring and planning, so we either crowd the last few impressions or stretch them out slightly. Now I'm using a small pear shader, and I'm going to enhance the impressions made by the camouflage tool. Notice that I'm tipping the tool forward slightly and getting a good clean impression each time. Now here I'm going to use a 3D stamp in the middle, and notice how I rotate it. Doing the same thing now with the letter C, and I'll bring in another letter on the other side and do the same thing. We hold it tightly, hit it several times, and rotate it as we hit it. And we are all ready for our